advise you to make use of technical solutions. Discuss them thoroughly. Don't bring business groups, people are looking for businesses, then you become their agent. You, instead of being a police officer, you are now an agent of business people. Get the technology. So whenever I get some of this technology, my first question is, can it work? Is the science correct? If the science is correct, then we move. So therefore, these technical solutions will help you. Now, regarding the other digital telephones, social media, absolutely, you need to get equipment for that. Because during our fights, those people who are in the bush know that on the 6th of April, 1981, we attacked a opposition group at Kachi, place called Kachi. Kachi is 17 miles on Hoima Road. And we captured a radio there, the manpack. We, the guerrillas, had not used radio. We had used radios a bit with the Tanzanian army, but we had not followed so closely. So when we took the radio back to the camp, we had a former UA person. There were actually two. One was called Budihisi, who died some years ago, and another one is still alive. Brigadier Chams is still alive now. This people had been in the old army of UA, and they knew how to use the radio to listen to the enemy. Oh, this radio became very, very good. We were listening to about throughout the whole war. It was actually, this radio should be given emphasis so that you have very good technical answers to whatever new problems you are facing. Now, regarding therefore, coming to the private data center, I totally support it. You shall have to build it. And the forensic center, I don't know what happened. There was talk about it. We shall have to work on it. Now coming to my daughter Abodo's points about democracy of taxation, taxing the state authorities. I'm going to discuss it with people in the cabinet before I unilaterally, but if my staff can remind me on Monday, we can discuss because she's saying that what you did for the prosecutors, do for the other state attorneys in the Attorney General's office. We are going to study that and we shall give you an answer. Now for the prosecutor circle, I'm very much embarrassed that the prosecutors are still commanding me to say something small. I feel embarrassed and I will have to show the embarrassment. And in the month of November, I want my PPS to invite all my prosecutors to show me. I don't think they can eat in a cow this one. Now, I think finally, when you are discussing here, one of the, I like the ideas of Justice Abodo like the land issue being handled promptly, locally, instead of fighting lawyers and so on. That's you study Abodo's idea of handling them off grid, directing the villages. You study it. Now, finally, the issue of bail. Because this issue of bail, if the case is ready for trial, I think it's really a big mistake. I can understand if the case is not yet ready for bail after 6 months, you can think of bail. But if the case is ready for trial, why do you not try it and finish it? Especially if it's the case of murder or corruption, like in the case of these politicians, or rape or treason. Why do you concentrate on, even for the accused? I would want to say you try to quickly and I prove my innocence. Why do you want to prolong it? So I think the Attorney General should see how to help us on the issue of bail. The Chief Justice, through Chief Justice's instruction, had clarified that applying for bail is a right. You can apply. But granting bail is not a right. It is a decision by the judge, taking into account the circumstances. So those judges who are just giving bail, because it's not a right. It's not a right because, yes, the accused has rights, but the victims also have rights. You cannot say that the rights of the accused are the only rights in the Constitution. Because, be careful with these Africans. Africans still believe in the law of Moses. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. This their justice. This one of Jesus, loving your enemies, that's a new idea. That you should love your enemies. Jesus was a revolutionary. This is a new idea. So, if you want peace with the Africans, please, we want full accountability. Justice Abodo here can tell you how the situation in Karamoja had become peaceful for 10 years. Totally peaceful. The army had disarmed all these people. Then the army started making their own mistakes. Some officers started stealing the money of the Karamojong LBUs. Instead of paying them, they would steal the money. So the Karamojong LBUs, local defense units, started getting disgruntled. And you know the Karamojong. They don't have enough patience to say let's go and follow them. The one who did not get paid, I will go and pay myself by raiding. That's how the raiding came back. Then there was one man called Achuchu. This Achuchu had done something and been taken to jail for 10 years. He had his wife. When he was in jail for 10 years, somebody married his wife. So when he came out of jail, he said, okay, you married my wife, then give me the cows. Then they ignored him, Achut. They ignored him. He went to Kenya, rented a gun. You know guns can be rented. He went to Kenya, rented a gun from the Turkana, went and organized the raid to get cows, and took them to Kenya, and he brought back the gun to them. He said, here is your gun, me, I have got my cow. So that's how the raiding started. So when Achuchu raided the GA, then the GA now raided back the Museveni. So you can see it was all caused by our people, thinking that because they have power, they can do whatever they want. With the African groups, be very careful. Make sure that you do justice clearly. Don't remain with any debt of blood or anything. So if you live here, please, you better listen to this. If you live in other parts of the world, then you can. But here, Africans want full accountability. This was the mistake of UPC. UPC were stupid people. I remember in 1966, when Obote abrogated the Constitution, we were in the school at Ntale in the dormitory, and we were listening to Obote's speech. And let this country with clean hands and a clean head. I'm not a thief. I have abolished the Constitution. So we said, how can somebody abolish our Constitution? How? Abolish our Constitution. Then the UPC boys, what will you do? What will you do? What shall we do? That's how the whole chaos started. Very, very easy to avoid. So please, with the Africans, don't. That's why the Banyankore are very clever people. When lightning like this, lightning in the sky makes a flash, you know, Banyankore, we are scientists. They understood that light is faster than sound. Because you see the light, of course, what they did not know. I will tell you what they did not know. Now, when the lightning in Kumyasa, in the sky, the Banyankore says, Gandra Hindu, you stay there in the sky, don't hit me. Because I have never taken anything from an in-law or a friend. I have never wronged anybody. Don't come to me. So, but of course, what they did not know that by the time you see the light, you're already dead. Please, don't hit me. I have no debt with anybody. That should be the spirit of the public servants. Don't take anything from anybody. Don't do anybody wrong. Make sure everybody gets it right. So this business of concentrating on bail, what? Concentrate on proving the innocence of yourself or of the aggressor. So with these few words, it is my pleasure to do what? To address you.
A land matter. We should stop using cases of criminal trespass to prove ownership of land, because it is not possible to prove ownership using criminal trespass. The only way you can, the only thing that will end up there is for orders of imprisonment, no trespass. I would therefore urge the office of the DPP, perhaps because of the sheer number of cases that are being criminalized, maybe you could come up with a checklist for determining what matters should be treated strictly as civil land matters. To develop a checklist for cases which are being criminalized, for you to check on what decision you should take as far as criminal land matters are concerned in the criminal system. I would also encourage you to, as prosecutors, as investigators, to divert land matters. Explore alternative methods of matters which can be handled as a civil matter. You can divert it to either now the judiciary is developing alternative dispute resolution as a mechanism, as one of the mainstream mechanisms, and criminal in nature. Litigators and complainants may be motivated for clear reasons to criminalize civil disputes. The reverse is also true. It therefore falls to the investigating officer and the prosecutor at the very outset to determine what the nature of the matter is.
Criminal trespass, and quickly we sanction the charges, the police go, throw someone in the cells, 2 days murder case. And we were the ones who were active for the prosecution, and we went, we started the moods, we were there, Justice Malcolm was the judge. He ought to raise, and they said what? They said this was a murder case, we were about the prosecution saying so and so was murdered.
So the issue we are dealing with is a Human Rights Enforcement Act.
Sebe sala yo ye. Yeah.
So let's go. Let's go.
May I introduce the guests in this meeting? In our midst, we have Honorable General Kahinda Otafire, the Minister of Internal Affairs. We have
was when they tried to assassinate him when he was coming from here. There was a faction here, and when he was going away, they inefficiently tried to kill him. And I want to thank Magambo for this effort of trying to make you belong to Uganda. Because really in the last 65 years, when I've been closely involved with the issues of Uganda, what I discovered is that many people don't really belong to Uganda in their work, in their thinking. If you do, it is easy to get solutions. And one way of doing it is the Nyankore proverb, which says, Okom Toburi, the hairstyle depends on the shape of the head. If you have got a big head, then the hairstyle will go accordingly. I think in English, they call it, you cut your coat according to your cloth. You cut your coat according to your cloth. If you really, Jonathan Fudi here knows how we were able to fight a very strong enemy with nothing in the bush, but we were using what was available and using it carefully and profitably, and that's how we built up. So therefore, what I've been doing with the Magambo's group, the CIDs, when he brought them to me, I have been first of all mentioning to them what was happening before the British came here. Before the British came here, we had these kingdoms. We had one big kingdom of the Batwezi up to about 1400, when the whole of much of Uganda was united under the Batwezi. That's how you hear many of the Batwezi names in all these areas. Even in Tanzania, even in Congo, you find those Batwezi names there. If you hear names like Wamara, Wamara was a Batwezi. Isimbwa, Kagoro, Ndaura, Ondaura. All those were Muliwa, these are all were Batwezi. Now, for some reason, that kingdom broke up about 1400, and then you had these small kingdoms, the ones we found here. Uganda, Nkole, Bunyoro, Rwanda, Karagwe, the ones of Tanzania. Now, those small kingdoms were inefficient and promoting war among us. And when the Europeans came, they picked them like grasshoppers. They defeated them. They tried to fight, but they were defeated because they were divided. Kawalega and Mwanga tried to unite late, when it was already late. And they were captured together and taken to exile. Now, so when the British took over, of course, that time, the economy was a pre-capitalist economy. An economy that was based on Emyoga. This is Emyoga we talk about. That word Emyoga, I read it to you from your history. Emyoga means exactly specialization, especially the ones of, you had crops, people of crops, you had people of livestock, you had fishermen, then you had the other Myoga, the blacksmith, the carpenters, if you want, blacksmiths are called our Hensi, carpenters are our Izi. This is the Nyankore version, but you can put it in your own dialects. The ones who are making back cloth, they are called our Komaji. The ones who are making arrows and bows, they were called our Tanaji. The ones who were operating on the lake, they were called Abanimbi. Every Mwoga had a specialization. And then they would exchange by barter trade. They were trying to use money, but the money was not developed. They were trying to use cowrie shells from the ocean. That's why you hear of Nsimbi. Nsimbi means cowrie shells from the ocean, but it was not very widespread. Now, when the Europeans came, they are the ones who introduced, they first of all killed the indigenous handcrafts, blacksmith, what they replaced them now with imported items. Then in agriculture, they tried to kill the indigenous agriculture and instead introduced some of these, what they were calling cash crops. So, in the 70 years, the British were here. They had created a small island of money economy. We can call it a small island of modernity. That's why in the 1960s, in the universities, we were describing that economy as an enclave economy. Economy of a small island of modernity surrounded by a sea of backwardness. And by independence, 1962, the small island was comprised of what they were calling the 3 C's and the 3 T's. The 3 C's were cotton, copper, and coffee. The 3 T's were tobacco, tourism, and tea. I've been trying to challenge our people to give me the percentage of the people who were in the money economy in that small island. I've not succeeded very well, but somebody told me that by the census of 1969, the people in the money economy were only 4% of the population. The rest were outside the money economy. Then Idi Amin comes in. Now, when that small island of economy, of money, was giving us some goods in the shops, salt, sugar, paraffin. Although the people in the village didn't have much money, but at least they would buy those, what came to be called essential items, which were also contributing to the tax. But when Idi Amin came in, the small island was destroyed almost. The tea sector collapsed, the tourism collapsed, the tobacco was still limping on, the cotton collapsed, the copper collapsed, the coffee was still limping on. So that's how the NLM comes in. It comes in when the economy the small island economy had collapsed. And the economy was characterized by magendo, smuggling, what they were calling chibanda. Chibanda was foreign currency, black market, and then what they were calling kusamura, speculation. That's how the economy was by 1986. So, when you call yourself a public servant, a public servant of where? Of Uganda, or UK, or where? If you say you are UK, then of course you are in the wrong place. Because this is Uganda. The Uganda have described it to you. So when we came in, fortunately we had spent a lot of time in these efforts. As part of the student movement, we had started very well all this, not only the economies of Uganda and Africa, but the whole world. There's nothing that we didn't know about the whole world. Because we had spent a lot of time as a student movement, as fighters in the bush. There's nothing we didn't know. So when we came in, we gave you very clear, many of you are young, but your parents, we gave them the way forward. And as we speak today, we have covered 4 phases. Phase number one was what we call the minimum economic recovery. The minimum economic recovery was aimed at bringing back the small island of modernity. Bring it back. Bring back the tourism. Bring back the tea. Bring back the cotton. Whatever can be brought. Copper has not yet come back, but we have been trying. So that was minimum recovery. But also remove Magendo, remove Chibanda, and remove Kusama. And we did it by a number of stimuli, a number of measures, including liberalization and also allowing the shilling to find its level, to float the shilling, let the shilling find, instead of trying to fix the exchange rate artificially at some figure, we say no, let it find its market price. That's why you find the shilling sometimes it goes up, sometimes it comes down. That's how we defeated the Magendo and Usamala and Chibanda. So that is phase one. Man out of maize. In America, you hear people, like we had a president of America called Jimmy Carter, I don't know whether he's still alive. He was a groundnut grower. He was making money from groundnuts. Why would maize not be a cash flow? They couldn't tell you. And indeed, in the colonial times, these people are old, know that the packed maize flour, what they were calling maize meal, was coming from Kenya, grown by the white farmers there. Because Kenya had been taken over by the Europeans. They were calling it the White Highlands. But those islands around Nairobi had become White Highlands. They are the ones who are producing the maize. Milk was not a cash product. It was just for drinking. So when we came in, working with some of the people, in particular, I remember one person called Victoria Sectorico, was one of our agriculture ministers. We said no. Everything that has a market is a cash crop. So that's how we ended up making maize a cash crop, cassava a cash crop, milk a cash product, and all of that. So that is phase 3. Phase 4 is where we are now. The knowledge economy, making our economy produce products of knowledge, like automobiles, vaccines, electronics, and so on. So that's where we are now. Now, as we are doing all this, of course, we didn't, the tax collection was improving, was growing, because when you talk of the welfare of the public servant, where do you get the money from? You get the money from the taxes, the economy. And the taxes are not only for the wage bill, they are also for the infrastructure, for security, for defense, and so on. So then you have the problem, how do I support the welfare of the public servants? when I don't have enough money. That's why, but people don't listen to our advice. But from the beginning, we were very conscious of this, and we gave very clear advice. And our advice was, especially for the UPDF, we said, you people, we don't have enough money to pay what they were calling a living wage. I remember at one time the Makerere teachers went on a strike, and they wanted a wage from which you could live comfortably. But we didn't have the money to do that. So our advice at that time was, why don't you get the small salary you get, but handle the issues of welfare collectively. In UPDF, we are currently the building of army schools. Why don't children, biological children, not relatives, not what, because that also becomes another complication. Why don't the biological children of the soldiers, and by extension you can say of the policemen, of the even other public servants, if they had listened to us, but they were not, many of them were not even listening to what we were saying. Even if I'm getting a small salary, but if my child is studying free in an army school, in a primary school, a secondary school, a technical school, maybe when it comes to university it may be difficult because it may not be easy to build army universities and so on. But at least these lower levels, our children will study free through our institutional institutional facilities. You address the issue of education of your children. Health can be addressed collectively by having army health centers all over the place. Housing, what Dr. Phil is talking about. Houses built by our own internal capacity. The UPDF brigade, engineering brigade, is doing a wonderful job. They are building so many facilities and doing it cheaper, because when you use private people, the private man, many of them don't have their own money. They go to a bank, a commercial bank, Morocco, and borrow money at 18% to build, if you hire them. Then, so if you are going to build a facility for 100 million, it is now going to be 118 million. 18% for the bank. Nothing to do with the houses. You are making money for the banks. Then the company wants a profit. They want a profit of 20%. So you add another 20 million on the 118, so it is now 138 million. Then, because they are a private company, they pay tax, VAT, 18%. So now, you have added another 18 million on the 138. It is now 156 million. Now, many of them don't have their own transport. They hire vehicles of other people to transport the materials. So, a building that, a facility that would have cost 100 million has now gone to 180 million, something like that. So I told the soldiers, why do you allow this to happen? Why don't you, and you have got these engineers of the young people, especially Makerere, who want to be in the army, the police, civil engineers who can come and they are paid and they build. You give them equipment and they build facilities for you at price of the materials. So they are already being paid by the army, they don't charge anything. So the only cost you have are the materials to use. We have been talking about this, but I don't know, I have not had time to discuss it with you in detail, but I really think this is the correct way to go. Trying to use private, business people come, they want to do this for their, that's a trap. It will be very expensive. The APDF is doing very well now. They have built so many facilities. You can go and share with them. Now, so that one would solve the issue of institutional housing. Instead of these policemen, as General Tafiri is saying, staying in Mukono, in all those places, stay near the workplace. And you walk on foot from your house to the workplace. This is what we recommended long ago. It's not a new recommendation. But people don't listen most of the time. They have their own solutions. Now, that is on the side of the welfare. But on the side of your assignment as a public officer in a society and economy that is getting out of all this cumulative history of the colonial history, the colonial history, the breakdown caused by people like Idi Amin, and the recovery now. What do you do? What is your own contribution? Your own contribution, in my view, certainly that's what I've been doing. If the government can be able to support me more, good. But if it can't, I will work with the region that is there and continue to build. And when I continue to build, the country gets more capacity to support everybody, including with the public servants. But in supporting them, if we cannot do it all at a go, we do it in a prioritized way. And I understand it. Even by 1970, before I came in, I had started working briefly in the public service. Even at that time, those managers there who were able to say, like for instance, we who had a bachelor of this, bachelor of that, social science, were getting 1,300 something shillings a month as an assistant secretary. That's what they were calling us. We were just joined. You join as assistant secretary, you become senior assistant secretary, you become principal assistant secretary, and under secretary, then eventually permanent secretary. I remember we were getting 1,300 something, 33 and 30 cents. I don't know what they were adding, 30 cents. But then the lawyers, that time, the ones I had qualified with at Dar es Salaam, people like Martin Wesida and other people who died, they were getting 1,400. Why? Because the country at that time needed lawyers more. Lawyers had been in short supply. The doctors, We are getting 1,500. Yeah. Why? Because yes, social scientists, history, literature, Latin and all that, yes, thank you very much. You are a highly learned person. You can quote Shakespeare. Shakespeare stood here and said this, look this way. Thank you very much. We have seen that you are a clever man, but please, Mr. Clever Man, we need doctors more now. So we pay them more than you. And you must accept that logic. So now, when it comes to remuneration, like recently, when some few years ago, when I insisted to you people, you are all wonderful people, learned and so on, very clever people. Even the way you dress, you can see that you are very learned. But in order to maintain a road, we need an engineer. So if we don't have enough money to pay all of you well, why don't we start with this engineer so that he can maintain the roads for us, and then the matoke can come from the village, and then we get more matoke, and then we earn more. And the doctor, so that's why I insisted that the scientists are paid more. Fortunately, some of these groups are not so many. But if you look at the government scientists, the researchers, the agriculture, the engineers, civil engineers, they are not so many. So actually they can be paid because they are smaller, but they are very crucial. The doctors. Then slowly we said, okay, we added now the prosecutors. We shall get to everybody. But for people to say, no, either to be like, there's what they call Omukorwa. Omukorwa are I think they're called Mangus. Mangus. Yes. That's really a wrong mentality. And Otafiri here knows that when we were fighting, we didn't have food. But if there was some meat from Hobo, there is somebody who is on duty, guarding the camp, while the rest of us are sleeping. Because when you're hungry, you tend to doze. So we would rather give the meat from Hobo to the guard so that he stays awake, rather than say all of us either we get Hobo or nobody gets. So in terms of discipline, I would really advise that. And the impatience is not necessary because the economy is growing and we shall eventually get to everybody. But please, let's start in a phased way. Now, coming to the work facilities, like if you take the work with the CID, when I met them, I was telling them that, but some of the fight against the crime, you can use cost-saving method. Corruption, which is a big problem. This one is easy to fight. Because corruption is mainly targeting government resources which are destined for the people. The money for the road is going to a feeder road in a district. The capitation grant is supposed to go to a school. The drugs are going to a health center. The PDM money is going to the parish. The Myoga money is going to the constituency. In all those areas, there are potential beneficiaries who are denied this money because of the corruption. So you, the CID officer, it's very easy work for you. Just liaise with the people. They will tell you, the people there, the wananchi who are the victims of the corruption. They will tell you. So you, the cow, the CID officer, the DSO, the DSO, anybody in the community will quickly, easily get information about corruption and use it to punish the ones who wrong. Now, if we were to wipe out corruption by an efficient public linkage with the population, how much would that stabilize the country? Now, then that leaves the other crime, murder, rape, and so on. This is where now the forensics come in. The fingerprints, the DNA tests, and all that. So that one is for that cluster of crimes. Then now you are adding you are adding the issue of the other technical forms of intelligence information about. Remember in 2018, when I made that long speech in Parliament, when I insisted on introducing the cameras on the roads, you have seen how much the cameras have helped you if they were working properly, because even they were not fully implemented well, there was some problem. I was always talking with the gentleman called Museveni. What are the problems of the cameras? Come and tell us here. Or even if you see me properly in the camera, but I cover my face with a hood, how do you solve that? So that to make the whole Assistant Inspector General Police walk and how do you solve the problem of the hood?